Fala galera, today I'm going to make my deck profile from the deck that I play in the last LCS, the 3v3 one. This is the LCS that we got second place, me, Christian, Thomas and Gabriel Nats. We all play the same list, so this is a joint effort from many players, not only the three of us, but also I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Uh, Ryan, you, Hashin, and Cormac, also June and Franco. So I feel like we were the ones that worked a lot in that deck, and many of us play with this in the event, and it was really good. And I want to explain more or less how we came together uh, to this last version of the deck, which is really interesting in my opinion, and I know is really nice, and we got a good position in the tournament, being second place. We won the last one, 3v3, me, Christian, and Gabe. So it was nice to do well again together. I think ours started with June that played this deck at the last LCS, the previous one, where I think he got top four, and he was mainly the Shaddoll cards, and that was interesting. Like Dino was a really under the rated deck back then, and he's really good with dinos, so it could have something to do with the fact that he was really good, not with dinos itself. But it was interesting to see that the Shaddoll package somewhat made a difference in the performance. I'm assuming so. I saw some of the replays and I thought, this is interesting. And okay, and then for the 3v3, me myself and Chris, me and Christian and Gabe, we were thinking what we should play for this one. So we started testing a lot of things. Not Dino at first. I mean, we thought about Dino, but we didn't actually went through with the list. So we test a lot of other things like pranks and 3 Zoo, mainly those two. I really wanted to not play LCS this time because the most important deck in this tournament was Dragon Link, and I feel like the 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 last two events where I played LCS uh, were incorrect, since Dragon Link was super on. It was super popular, right? Um, I mean, maybe not the last one, since I was assuming that Dragon Link would lose to the Shaddolls and all. I feel like I already explained that some more, but it was fine. But now there's even more Dragon Links than before, so it's kind of weird to play that. So I was trying to stay away from LCS, and then I feel like Ryan, Hashin, and Cormac starting to take a look on Dino again, and I wasn't involved yet, and at first they put the window in the deck, but still with the Shadow mains and the Phantasma main, Dark Ruler main. So it was a completely different list from this, but he had those cards in the window. The window changed a lot in the Dragon Link matchup in second, since it's not that difficult for Dino to break the board, but it's really difficult to hold the follow up next turn. It's really difficult for example, break the board and then on Dolk Conductor, and even then, even if you reach that level, which is already difficult to begin with, to hold the next push, because usually there's Curious Ruling, Rave, and Tiding Rave, and Levy coming back, at least. So it's really difficult to hold the follow up. With the inclusion of the window being some usually through the Anaconda, it makes this much better, because when you do this window with the Anaconda against Regalingo in second, you not only do the window, but you also banish the follow up with the aerial, and you also destroy the if it is on the field. With this, you destroy the what's the name, boot sector with the Shadow Dragon. So that was a big change in my opinion. And this is when I start to take a look on this deck. Okay, this deck is interesting. But I was at the same time testing other decks. Um, but it got my curiosity. Like, okay, this is something different than before. Like this window changed some things. I saw some matches that this Dino deck won through a combo, Dragon Link combo. The problem with this is that, and that was my main problem with this strategy, where you main the Shaddolls and choose second against Dragon Link, is that if the Dragon Link plays competent, he plays really differently. Like he can play in a way that he can play around Dark Ruler no more, for example, by having the Titan in the grave and chain the Titan chain hot head to the Dark Ruler, and many other ways to make a better board and have the follow up in hand instead of in grave. So there was many things that they can do differently that this strategy is kind of worse. Fortunately, not many people are aware of this because, of course, they're not testing it against Dino, but it was something that I had in the back of my mind. So I was still not happy with it. It was better than before, but wasn't happy yet. In my eyes, for this tournament, the deck that you need to choose has to be a competent against Dragon Link, really good against some other decks, specifically Prankits. I feel Prankits would be a deck that would perform well, and it did. We lost it with Prankits, but I feel like the matchup was really good. Um, then it's when more or less I start to get involved, and I see this whole Shadow thing, and I didn't like that very much. And this was like really close to the event, and this is where me and Mark suggest. And after watch a lot of replays and that they provided to us to watch and see those things, I said, okay, maybe uh, maybe I have some idea. And then I suggest that it would be possible to play the Scythe in the main deck and with the Shadow package in the side deck. And that changed a lot of things. I feel like this is the biggest turning point of this deck. So this was the biggest contribution to the deck, was the idea to main this. What I was experiencing for them is that, oh, okay, I forgot to mention, they were siding this before. They put a window in the extra deck in comparison to the June deck, and then they put the Scythe in the side deck. And when they were playing post side against Dragon Link, they would choose first with the Rex in the side. Um, and the times that they went first post side against Dragon Link, the side worked a lot. I was like, okay, this is good. This is working. Like the whole tornado, Dagda thing, that was working. Because historically, Dragon Link tend to side cards like Talents and Dark Ruler no more and those cards are really bad against side combos. So that was really good. So then when I asked, okay, due to the nature of the online LCS, it's really likely that you can know, especially in later rounds, what your opponent is playing. Like, no, everyone can know what everyone is playing. Like, at least, especially for like non-players like us, it's really likely that everyone knows what we are playing. So we usually know what the other people are playing, especially if they are also non-players. And the tournament is small enough so you can know that what the people are doing. Of course, it's not every single round, but many rounds, you know. So due to that nature, every time we we know we were playing against a Dragon Link, we choose first. But if you were blind, you choose second. So, and that would work rather well, especially if you go further in the tournament. Uh, there is more and more likelihood that you know what you're playing against because the pool of players that you have to play against is only the pool of the players in your bracket, right? Um, like if you're X1, if XO, it's really easy to know. So yeah, so you usually know what you're playing against. And then this strategy works really well since you can choose to go first when you know it's Dragon Link, but you keep choosing second if you know it's something else. Most of the time, you still choose second. That made us to do two things. One is to put the Shaddoll package in the side because it's still the best way to approach the Dragon Link matchup when you do go second. But if you have the option to choose, and that was a big difference in my eyes, you choose first and you have the side combo. And by doing that, you have space, your attack card space like Ash Gamma and Lightning Storm and Feather. They're much better against the field that is not Dragon Link. So you have a only small investment to make the Dragon Link almost a combo mirror, which is the best you can get. And because Dragon Link is really resilient to hand traps. But against the other decks, like having Ash, Gamma, Lightning Storm, Harp's Feather against Frankies, for example, is really, really good. I feel like the matchup was much better than before, because if you look at those cards and compare what we had before, like Phantasmi, Shadow Fusion, and Dark Ruler, the difference is huge. So I feel like definitely that made a lot on the decision of trying to play this deck. Um, you guys will see, like I will try to do some of my matches in the tournament. I get into this deck really late, so I was aware that the fact that I wouldn't be playing perfectly, like far from that. So that was a factor for me specifically. But the other thing that made this a little bit better was since it was a 3v3, so I could have asked for advice, right? And I did a lot. So, and I could give advice as well. I learned fast, so because I played this for many years, so I learned along the way, and I learned a lot in like the 5 days that I played prior to this to the event with this deck. So yeah, I needed to learn things really quickly, and I did some mistakes in the tournament. Like I missed some OTKs here and there. Sometimes I searched the wrong baby, like it's either baby or PT. So I did some things wrong along the way, but I thought that the deck advantage would be so big that it would compensate me not being like super well rounded player with this. Um, so yeah, it compensated. It was better. Uh, I feel like the only mistake that actually led to a negative result was in Swiss that I drew against a Prankets and should have been a one because I lost because I banished Dugaris for my pot and I shouldn't and it mattered. So, and I think I would have won that match if that happened. Maybe it's a maybe. You can put on the maybe pile. I did some other mistake, but I still won the match. So or made some other mistake, but I lose the game, but I still won the match, or made a mistake and still won the game. So I feel like the only capital mistake was this one that I noticed, like super problematic. But I did nothing too wrong. Um, yeah, that was the deck. Oh, the last thing, the other suggestion that I was really adamant about was trying to side Sanctum, since you have the site already in the deck and the site is not as a brick as in the past. So Sanctum was a good inclusion because I wanted something good going first against Dragon Link. Um, so yeah, that worked really well. Um, okay, inside deck, in the tournament, I played against three Dragon Links and I won both matches and I won 4 games, of course. And 3 of them was using Scythe, 2 through Sanctum and 1 through the combo. So that really works. And then I stopped playing Dragon Link. I played Dragon Link my first 2 rounds and then I never played that again. Um, and that was interesting as well. I play against a lot of Prankets, so my deck was well built against that. So I was happy about that as well. And yeah, talk a little bit about the cards. I really like the Rex. Rex is necessary because you need as many 2 card combination that can reach your combo. This combo, game one, and Rex makes the OV Lost World the Dagda combo as well. If you don't play the Rex, you lost that 2 card combination. You need as many as possible. Rex is a utility card, like I know it's a little bit bricky, but I think it's fine. Also, I like the Rex effect, the Rex that's really good into drawing Lockboard, which was a really common card, at least for me. Like I got draw a billion times this tournament. In the finals, I got draw all 3 games. Uh, and it really helps on the draw hands. So this is another advantage that I have for Rex. I really like Rex. Um, Another thing that is nice to mention is the Ash Gamma thing. Um, those are the best hand traps by far. I don't think they are that bad. against Dragon Link in this deck's perspective, because in this deck perspective, when you use a Ashe or a Gamma against Dragon Link, one of those two things happens. You either completely stop them, which is insane and doesn't happen too often, but it could happen. It's possible. Like they will kill space, pitch something, you Ashe, and they kind of pass sometimes. It can happen, but it's not what happens most of the time. What happens most of the time is that you use a hand trap and they keep playing, but often that one hand trap that you use prevented something. Either prevent the levy, or either prevent the tiding, or prevent one of the negations, or they can't go up or lose, or they are forced to be locked in dark earlier. Something usually happens, and that means you don't get full combo. And in this deck perspective, since it is a really aggressive deck that has a nature, a good nature on going second anyway, like Ove is really good going second, Mystic going second, Punka Traps, which is searchable by many cards, Conductor. Like the nature of this deck, it's good going second naturally, right? So it is not as bad like other decks in the same situation where you use one hand trap and they same combo you. This deck can actually break same combos. Other decks most of the time can't. So the one hand trap that you use in this deck perspective against the other decks is not as bad in comparison with, let's say, a Eldritch use your Ashe and they get same combo, or Prankits use one hand trap and do get same combo still. It's really different for a Prankits use an Ashe and get Seal Tiding than this use an Ashe and get Seal Tiding. So there's a big difference. Gamma is the same thing. Those two are really, really good against Prankits, so I really like that. Another thing that I would like to mention is the Lightning Storm, Rap's Feather. Those cards are completely insane. They probably were the best cards in my deck, like the no-engine card on my deck. I used Lightning Storm like a billion times. And of course, because of the nature of the match that I played against 3 Prankits, 2 Elishzus. So matchups that I really wanted Lightning Storm, and I used that a lot. Not only because I drew Lightning Storm naturally or Harp's Feather, but also because I search the pot with pot and pot. Pot. I feel like this deck doesn't exist without pot. Pot is 1000% necessary in this. There's absolutely no way you can play this deck without pot. Pot is one of the most, if not the most, piece that put everything together. This deck has consistency issues, and pot is almost always you pot into something that you needed. It's really difficult that you pot and you don't find what you wanted. It's really, really unlikely. So, because you either, okay, I want an extender here, like a Misk or a Baby, or I want the Lightning Storm, or the Call by the Grave, the Lost World. It's so difficult to complete with the pot that the card is really, really strong. And many, many times you find exactly what you need. So, 100% necessary. Lost World is extremely good card as well. Not really good against Dragon Link, but really, really, really good card. So yeah, that was the main deck. The side deck, you have this 11 side deck plan against Dragon Link. You put all those 11 cards inside out. The Lightning Storm, the Harp's Feather, all the field spells, which is 4, and then the side is going second Scythe and 1 Brax and 1 Arcosaur, and you put those 11 cards, and they are really good. You can side in some combination of those against all the matchups as well, like Trivigate Zoo and Shaddolls, depending where you are, and like if they're choosing you, the one choosing. So it depends. It's a much more complicated issue, but there are more things that you can do with those cards. In my perspective, I'm sure that my teammates did that more than me, but I never use the Shaddoll cards because I do side in those against the Dragon Links that I play, but then I never side in those again because I only play against Franklin Shizu until the end. I play against one Dino Thunder too, I forgot. But I also didn't side in the Shaddolls there. So I only side those cards on my first 2 rounds in the tournament, then I never did that again. So I never used a Shaddoll Fusion, but I saw and I was together at many times that the Shaddoll cards were insane for Gabriel, for Christian, because we are playing FRE3 so many times. I already finished my game, so we are playing Gabriel game together, for example, and then Shaddoll Fusion was like insane. Top 4, for example, we outright won the game by itself. So the card is really, really good. The fact that you can send Misk, so it's an engine card if necessary, because you can send Misk to the grave while using one effect at the same time, or you can make the Winda through the Anaconda usually, or you can make the Apkalon, which is usually the break card. This is almost like, for example, in top 4, we use the Shadow Fusion to send the Aerial and the Shadow Dragon at the same time to make the Apkalon, and the opponent had a back row and then a Palooza, so you chain block, put the Aerial free, so Apkalon and Shadow Dragon would resolve. So the Shadow Dragon pop the face down when the Apkalon negated Appaloosa, and then we play. So one card put a 25 attack monster while negating Appaloosa and while destroying back row. Very few cards in the game can do something similar. So yeah, it was really interesting. I already talked about the Sanctum. We usually citing that ongoing first against Dragon Link. Some other few exceptions in the other matchups, but that's the main reason. And we have this one-off cycling that we did decide the side pattern a lot. Like some matchups you don't need to side in any of those cards, so you just put the cyclone, which is all around this card, and set out the side when we know we were going second, that our opponent would choose first. And Cyclone is a decent card. Often those decks set cards, so Cyclone would be live. And that's it about the main deck. About the extra deck, I feel like worth mentioning. Lambda is interesting because of the whole Gamma. Gamma is also a call, but they were in this deck much a big percentage of the time. And then when that happens, you can end on Lambda, and you make a Lambda while using the drive as a material and something else, and you keep the Gamma on the board, and then in the end phase the Gamma is banished by its own effect, and then Lambda triggers and you search another Gamma, so now you have a Lambda with a live Gamma in hand, because drive now is engraved, and you have a Gamma in hand and with Lambda on the board, so that's interesting to do. This deck is an OTK machine, like we actually kill people after using pots, which means that you needed to do 16,000 damage because the damage is halved, and that happens more than once. I feel like I did it once at least. Gabriel definitely did that at least once, because we did that together, me, him, and Christian in top 4. We found an OTK. Christian did. So much because of Dugaris. Dugaris, the card that made Conductor attacking like for a billion damage, like 7k, and if you off Prosperity, like you win. If you comboing into something, it's almost always a way to OTK. Sometimes you don't OTK because you play around some cards, and I felt like sometimes people in stream that watching my games were confused because I wasn't trying to kill, but I was playing around some cards, and if I tried to kill, I had to start my turn differently, and then if I did that, it would be much worse if I got an Ash here and there, and then I didn't, and then I could have killed, and then I didn't kill, but it was because I was playing around Draw or Ash or something. So, but the other time, there are other times that I actually missed the OTK. Dugar is really important. That another card that is really important to OTK is Pentastag, which makes the linked monsters pierces. Dolka Dueller extremely important. Castel is one of the later the card that we put in the end in the deck, and Castel's interesting because main two reasons. One is Megaclops. We do have an out to Megaclops already, which is Dugaris into Dolka, and then you make Dolka double attack and attack. But Castel is easier to do, right? Because it's only one rank 4 instead of 2. And but another big reason, and that happened on my testings against Prankids, is that sometimes against Prankids, especially for pot, you often can't kill them because they gain life points and then you pot and then you have like 9 or 10k. You can do a lot of damage, but sometimes you can't kill. So when that happens, you have to control. And what Prankids often do is that they don't go for Butler, they go for Washer, and the Washer became Bow Wow and Dudu. And when that happens, they can die by battle and they can die by effects. With that said, I often notice that we could have end on a field like, if they don't do anything and we play and we can't play, we can end on something like Dweller and also have a Castel, a Punkatrops, and sometimes a Conductor as well. And when we do that, we can Castel one of them and Punkatrops the other, Link 2, on the other turn, right? We Castel one now, and then Punkatrops the other one on the other turn, and then they are playing against a Dweller and sometimes a Conductor as well into with brackets, which is not nice to do. So it was important because you need to clear the monsters, and Castel happens on that as well. And then the link, the shadow fusions here. And yeah, I feel like that's it. Really happy to play this deck again. I want to uh, thank my friends, Christian and Gabriel, also Cormac, Hashin, Ryan, June, and Franco. They all helped a lot on this, and I hope you guys liked the deck profile. And I will post some matchups about this deck soon. Okay, see you later. Bye.